Yes, ma'am. We are live now. Shall I start?
Yes, please.
Sure, sir.
We are just starting the recording. So, Brahmaji, just wait for 1 more minute. We are just starting the recording. Okay.
Okay.
Yes. So, we have started the recording. So, you may start, Brahmaji.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you. Hello, good morning, one and all present here. I, Kramjit Daya, a second year master student of Biotech Department of TTU, formerly known as TCE, welcome you all to this event on converting innovation into a startup by Dr. Saumendra Mohanty. I would request all the participants to kindly switch on your cameras. Starting with a quote by Guy Kawasaki, the co-founder of Alta. Ideas are easy, but the implementation is hard. Putting theory into action is the biggest challenge while converting an innovative idea into a profitable startup. The skill of entrepreneurship involves starting from scratch to the top level and scaling up the business. And innovation has been created, it is very important to understand the phases of development, difficulties encountered, and probable solutions. The Make in India project is one such initiative taken by the Indian government that encourages small startups across the nation to allow more people to gain insight into strategic planning and global competition. Thanks to Vice Chancellor Sir, Professor University faculties and students to actively participate and convene such insightful events is a man behind the progressive environment at the university campus. I would like to extend my heartful thanks to Professor Praveer Kumar, HOD of the Department of Biotechnology, TTU, for providing us the opportunity to conduct such events from time to time. Proceeding forward, I would now request Dr. Ashmita Das, convener of today's event, to open the session with her USA in molecular immunology and immunotherapeutics. She has various collaborations with industries and institutes. Over to you, Ma.
Thank you, Brahmaji. Good morning, Professor Mohanty, our eminent speaker, our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor J.P. Saini, Head of the Department, Professor Praveer Kumar, all our faculty members, students, and participants who have joined through the link as well as who are watching through the live stream. As Steve Jobs said, innovation distinguishes between a leader and a follower. Necessity is the mother of all inventions. Humans have forever been faced with challenges, and facing such challenges have led to innovations. Innovation defines the quest that has driven mankind towards successful progression of civilizations all over the world. Imagine if no one had invented the wheel. We would have no pottery, no cars, food for intellectual development, which a small number of people manage who decide to solve a problem rather that bothers them rather than walk around it. Converting one's innovative ideas to buy food on the table and building successful enterprises is even harder. And only a very, very few people manage that. Why is that so? There are many hurdles like logistics, experience, marketability, and most importantly, financial woes that prevent brilliant ideas from becoming successful enterprises. Our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji encouraged entrepreneurship and has initiated many projects to boost Indian startup ecosystem. Even Delhi's Education Minister, Mr. Manish Sisodia, has encouraged DTU to coach students to build startups, quoting him, दिल्ली टेक्नोलॉजिकल यूनिवर्सिटी के स्टूडेंट्स जॉब देने वाले बने ना कि जॉब लेने वाले. DTU has been working keenly on this vision, and DTU Innovation and Incubation Foundation is a testimony to it. Our visionary Vice Chancellors, Professor Yogesh Singh, who initiated this project, and now under the guidance of our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor J.P. Saini, we strive to achieve new heights. Department of Biotechnology has a unique niche of being at the threshold of the application of technology in biological and pharmaceutical problems. Thus, has immense potential for innovation, and its application in entrepreneurial endeavors are constantly motivating students to take up such challenges, and we are also providing technical guidance wherever solicited. The purpose of organizing Bani had predicted the success of the young entrepreneur will be the key to India's transformation in the new millennium. Now we all know how true it rings. With the expectation that today's session is a small step towards such entrepreneurial success stories in the making, I welcome today's speaker, Professor Mohanty. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much, and it's really a privilege addressing such an eminent gathering. And I would like to thank the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Praveer Kumar, other faculty members, and all the students who have joined today on a busy Friday morning. In fact, I had the chance to address some of the incubatees last month in your incubator, and I was quite impressed, frankly speaking, with the level of technology, insight, vision that such young students have demonstrated. Now, basically, what I'll do is that I'll just give you a very small, brief background about myself. I have actually been in corporate, multinational corporations, technology setups for a very long time, almost 30 years and counting. Also, I have been a serial entrepreneur for almost a decade, and I was successful in raising a fund and also do exit. And to top it all, I've also been in academics for almost 4 years now. So I have been through all the three departments of where technology is discussed and implemented. And I found that today's session was quite intriguing because it is like how do you convert innovation into a successful startup? And this topic itself is very, very vast. And I will do my best to do some justice to it by putting my own experiences before you guys. And maybe a couple of points may have been missed by you, overlooked by you, which might you might find useful. The endeavor is to not to make it a very, it is make it innovative.
Sorry, sir has lost. I'm really sorry, sir has lost the connection and he's joining in a minute.
Rarest of rare tech problem, bandwidth problem. I hope I'm audible now.
Thank you.
screen visible?
Sir,
Where
you
is
have
the
to
where
present the presentation. In the
text
window,
problem,
then select the presentation.
bandwidth problem? I hope it is not visible. I'm audible now.
Sir, you are audible.
And is my screen visible?
Sir,
Where
you
is the
have to
where
present the presentation. In the
text
window,
problem,
then select the presentation.
bandwidth problem? I hope it is not visible. Are you able to see the slides now?
Sir, you are audible. Sir, no, sir. Sir, just go on this presentation button.
Yeah, I'm doing that.
Then
And
window.
is my screen visible?
Sir,
Where
you
is the
have to
yeah, now
present the
it will come.
presentation. Window,
Yeah,
in the
now it
window,
will
then select the presentation.
yeah, now it will come. I hope it is all visible. Are you able to see the? You can see the slide now.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So this
Sir,
is a number slide, and sorry for this small glitch.
just
And
go on this presentation.
these are the 5 options that I was telling you that a student has before he embarks on a startup journey. If he is a simple graduate, he has the option of a job, low ending, not high ending job, but nevertheless he has a job option. And at the end of 10 years journey and going at a reasonable job at heights that people get, he will end up having a net earning of 10 to 30. He has also the option of doing a MBA course where he invests in 5 lakhs and he'll start a slightly higher salary and he'll end up at a higher earning. That's a notional figure of 48 lakhs. But third option is that he invests 20 lakhs in MBA degree out in this course and going where he is affordable and he starts at a much higher salary and he has a much higher earning capacity of 76 lakhs net earning. Option 4 and 5th he going slightly higher. Yeah, yeah. And he'll end up at a higher
Slide is not completely visible to us because the letter is MBA degree award.
Oh, in fact, this is something problem is solved much higher salary and clear
You can start it from the slides
option. Yeah, it is on the slide one, but this problem is only this slide. Yeah, yeah. So I'm just rattling out the figures. Option number 3 and 5 are interesting. You may have a startup, you invest 20 lakhs from your friends and relatives and uncles, and the startup doesn't become successful because the idea doesn't click with the market. But because you have experience of a startup, because you are part of technological, commercial, legal, marketing, sales, everything, you actually end up getting a higher paying job. And your net earning will still be better than maybe a foreign degree at that point. And relatives and option 5, you are having a startup that is successful because the idea doesn't click with the market. You have invested 20 lakhs, but if it is successful and you get an angel funding and the operational cash flow starts coming in, you can afford to pay yourself a higher salary and end up having a much higher net earnings. The limited point in this slide was that even if you are not doing an exit and your startup is successful and you are going towards profitability, but if it is successful angel funding, you still end up having a much higher salary than other options. Now, this is a dilemma which I found students having when I met them last month. Because most of them were in the final year and they were also getting jobs and they were actually sitting on a very bright end. So this was actually whether to go or not, and the answer is your net present value. A failed startup may help you get a better job at a higher salary because you've gone through a lot of experiences in the field or maybe 3 years. A successful startup, if it is profitable, you pay yourself a higher salary. If it is getting into a funding thing, then you can also get capital gains when you do the exit. So this was now, having said that, there is a motivation for doing startup, and India is the third most startup country in the entire world at a higher salary, and you know the numbers. I just want to rattle off the numbers which you found in find everywhere in successful startup. Now, the first part of the startup is basically how to select the funding thing. Now, idea is something which is maybe maybe interesting to one person, it may not be interesting to doing startup. It is like the way we do PhD. Everybody has a different PhD and not all PhD topics cannot be same. And everybody is passionate about his topic. Now, same way, founder actually comes from the idea. And if with a brilliant idea, and he can solve a fantastic pain point by actually working out a solution around that idea. It is like now that is where the catch is. Everybody idea which is very good and appealing to you all may not be the idea which is appealing to the majority of the passionate about it. So the idea now, same way, idea is good from the startup point of view, which has a majority of the takers, and you will buy for your product or a solution, and they will pay you in future. Only then that idea is a good idea. So as I said earlier, there's nothing like a good idea or a bad idea. There is nothing called a success and failure. Nobody fails in a startup. Actually, your learning is far more valuable. You fail because you could not just market reality about what exactly is the market. So I'll come out with the concepts after some slides about founders' market problems. What exactly? There's nothing like a simple idea is that many of you know about reality. It is a funded startup and well funded by multiple rounds of funding, starting with angel funding, then Boost Venture, and now they have raised Series A funding. I happen to work very closely with the founder of Aurelia, and they were simply giving PNR of rail mechanism. That's all that is. There's plenty of other websites which you get the same result. That time, about 6 years ago, they had a website, and I was working on Android app. So I told Manish that I want to create an Android app. I actually outsourced some of my guys to him. They created an Android app, and the downloads were very, very high. The virality was very high because typically students and youngsters, they actually travel in trains like this, and they are much more apt. So it is a very good success story. It's a very simple concept. It is not a rocket science. When he went with the PNR concept, there were many other people who were doing the PNR. But actually, what he embarked was actually get Android mobile app much ahead than the virality was very high in the event. And then, of course, later on, they added a lot of things like altering food and other things like this. And so now, what happens is that when you're looking at the idea, simple concept, how does the idea come to? When he went with the idea is not something that many other people wake up one day and feel that that is a great idea because there is some problem which you have seen and you can solve ahead. Actually, the idea should come in the customer. And then, of course, later on, you have to discover the customer. Customer discovery leads to the idea. And it is not my philosophy. I have also worked out in a lot of concepts which are simply failed. Idea is not something that because I felt that they were great concepts and great ideas, but they were not so great ideas because, for example, about 8 years ago, I raised a small fund actually to create a WhatsApp kind of app, but it was multi-link. That means you could chat in around 8 or 9 different Indian languages, and I had like keypad. Most of you would be going over a funny keypad. But you know, the fundamental problem with that idea was that I felt that WhatsApp was already there, and there is a concept called the winner takes it all. For example, now if you have WhatsApp and it is viral, and everybody will have WhatsApp. You can't have 5 or 6 messenger app because then you can't communicate with your friends. That is the reason why WhatsApp is clearly ahead of the curve because it is in a market where the winner takes it all. So the customer discovery helps you with the idea, which actually tells you what is the pain that the customer has and how are you solving that pain. And that comes with the market discovery, market feedback, talking to the client, because the customers will give you not only the pain that they are facing, but they will also tell you the features that can make your product much better. So I will not dwell much on it because it is not a concept of how to make your students more innovative. Everybody is innovative, but the key insight is that talk to the clients before you put your $1 on the table and find out whether it really is a pain, which is not a pain of one customer but multiple customers. The pain should be common, and they should in future be able to pay for solving that pain. Now, having done the customer discovery, the next thing that we come to is obviously the market size because you are talking about whether it's a small market or it's a very big market, you must not increase much, your support should increase marginally and so on. And when that happens, that technology is such that the revenues will increase, but the expense in investing in the second thing is the VC will ask you, or the angel will ask you, this is an idea, careful about sharing at the ideation stage, and nobody puts any money at the ideation stage. It used to happen about 15 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, but not anymore. It is something that you have to show them a proof of concept. Proof of concept POC is basically very simple. It is basically you have to create a small proof of concept product, app, or whatever concept, just to show that it works or not. You're not actually reaching out to the market. And if the app is not working at the prototype stage, it doesn't really make any difference. I again go back to the drawing board, look at my talent, look at rehiring some talent, maybe look at some more inputs from the market, and understand why exactly the prototype is not working. So the proof of concept is important at the angel state. And apart from the proof of concept, as the market matures, the angel or a VC, which is the next level of the angel may look at a proof of concept, but the VC will look at a minimum viable product. Because,
Uh,
yes, you got any question?
Sorry for disrupting in between. So your slides are not moving.
What slide you are seeing right now?
So the first one only.
Which is very slow.
Yes, sir.
What
It is.
slide is now? Some ways to select ideas. Now the slides are moving.
So we were able to see the first one, but we could hear you.
Okay. Now this you can see this slide. Discuss and now we are looking at a proof of concept. You can see, and if they buy it at a particular price that you have decided, then you have something which is called a traction. And when you have a traction, 100 people have bought your product for, let's say, X rupees. Then you approach the venture capitalist and say that I have a minimum viable product with minimum features. I have converted my proof of concept into a MVP. And now there's a traction which has happened. People are buying for this. And now I needed to scale it. I have to create a full product with more features. I have to have a marketing budget. I have to do digital marketing. I have to put salespeople on ground. I have to hire more coders. I have to do a platform scale up. I need a database guy, all those things. And for that, I need this kind of run rate is increasing. And I need another 1 year before I do go to market. The go to market can be within 6 months of a minimum viable product, or it can be more. Go to market when you are approaching the market. So the VC actually invests in your minimum viable product, he is satisfied, and the angel at that time he exists out of this. I mean, he may exist, he may exit, or he may coexist. Now, if you see, I would again keep repeating that the slide has changed. Now, there is some confusion whether you require a POC or a MVP. Actually, you require both because the proof of concept simply demonstrates that it is not a theoretical concept, it is not a hypothesis, but it is a workable concept. Minimum viable products is that with this minimum features, there are people who are willing to buy and pay, and you are paying customers. So both of the concepts are required because one is required at the angel state, one is required at the VC state. At times, you may even have a minimum viable product and approach an angel because you have sufficient amount of investment to create the proof of concept yourself. The answer is you need both. Now I have, this is a slide, if you can see it is a slightly pictorial slide, and please correct me if this pictorial slide is visible or not. This is a very, very important concept, which is a product market fit. Because we are slowly progressing. We have a POC, we have a minimum viable product. Now, we have to look at this concept at this stage. We may have a product which already has very high demand in the market. We have entered into a product because there is nothing called pure innovation. You understand the market. There are some competitors who have come with certain products. You come out with a product which is innovative in the sense that it has more features, and that product already has a very high demand. And then you look at something called a positive unit economics and high retention. Now, these three things are, I think, one of the most important slides. They look very simple, But if you really ask my opinion, VC looks at only these three things. He doesn't have much of a time for your 30 minutes presentation. You only have to have a deck of 5 minutes. And within seconds, he'll come out with this. He will look at what is the market size, is actually the demand that you have forecasted, and he will simply ask you what is the positive unit economics. Now, what is the positive unit economics? It is very simple that your sales price should be more than your variable cost. Now, what exactly is the variable cost? It is basically the cost which goes into manufacturing of that product or the service. Let me give you a very simple example. If you are actually in the business of apps, and let's say the customer is buying every time he is downloading an app, it could be a game. So a customer pays you 20 rupees per app download per game. And the cost of that app download per game on the cloud is, let's say, 15 rupees. Because that's the only cost that you are bearing, the cloud cost. That is basically the variable cost. You will not take the other costs like your total sales cost, your technology cost, your platform cost, your employee cost, your office cost. These are all your other SG&A and fixed cost. You don't take that into the positive unit economics. And you say, ki, okay, my contribution profit is 5 rupees for every sale because my cost of carrying that unit is 15 rupees. That's what I have to pay to the cloud provider, AWS or whatever. And now the customer is paying it 20 rupees. And then you something that it is actually doing a positive contribution. And then second is basically what is the retention. Retention is that having got the customers, are they using this only one time and exiting? Or basically they are using it periodically. It may not be a subscription model where they pay you every month. It could be periodic use also, like Ola, Uber, these are periodic. These are not subscription-based model. Netflix is a subscription-based model. Now, if you see that there is a retention, means that the number of customers are plateauing after having acquired those customers. That means that you have a reasonable model, which is coupled with there's a high demand in the market. People want this kind of service from you, from others. You have a positive unit economics where your the sales value is more than your variable cost, and you have a contribution profit, and you also have a high retention. Now, these are the three things exactly which VC will see, and that determines whether he is going to invest you in your not. In the absence of any one of these three, there is a red alarm that it doesn't look like a good model to invest because let's say there is not high demand. So even if your positive unit economics is positive and you have a retention, it's not going to scale. So let's say you have high demand, but your positive unit economics is not good. That means actually you are losing money every time you are gaining a customer. So the losses will only increase. How are you going to offset those losses? Third is high retention, which means which in okay, let me change the slide. Uh, Retention low is something which is called in the jargon of the startup a leaking bucket. Leaking bucket is basically you have customers whom you have acquired. The cost of acquisition is high. It could be 500, 1,000, 800, depending on what is the digital marketing cost for acquiring a customer, or it could be a direct sales cost also. But he actually buys your product only once and then he leaves. He doesn't buy ever after that. So you have a leaking bucket. That means every time you're searching for a new customer and your acquiring cost is more than your actual contribution cost, contribution profit. So that is not a good model to be in at all. And a very good example is our e-commerce companies. Companies like Amazon and Flipkart, they would be spending something like, of course, they have optimized a lot of their marketing costs, but they send SMSs, they send emails, they have Google ads, they have Facebook ads, Instagram ads, they have even direct radio ads or newspaper ads. And let's say the acquiring cost of a customer is 800 rupees for these e-commerce companies. But having been a customer, you buy an item which is only 150 rupees. mobile cover, where their margin is only 15%. So obviously this is, and you're not going to buy it every time. So this is clearly a case where the contribution profit is not there, it is a loss. Variable cost is higher than the sales, and then it is a leaking bucket. So they have something which is called how much you will buy more. And they say, ki, okay, if you are there for next 6 more purchases, because if they have got you once, they will not be acquiring you again. They will be retargeting you again for using a recommendation engine. For if you bought this, you may buy that. So when you get something like 6 or 7 purchases, then you actually break in. I mean, that's what everybody is working all the time. So net is that your contribution profit should be positive, the demand of the product should be high, and the retention curve should be flat. That is very, very important. And obviously, I am quite reasonable that if your VC is looking at all these three things, there is a very, very high chance, there's of course nothing called a sure shot, that you will be actually getting investment on this model of these three. High demand, high contribution profit, high retention. It is a very good model. Otherwise, what you do, in case you feel that there is a high demand and high contribution, but the retention is not very high, then you can resort to the paid ads. Very good example is Baiju, because there the gross margin is the ad tech industry therein. The gross margins are very, very high because suppose you are doing recorded ads, recorded teaching, like you have all this Udemy and Coursera where the professor's contribution is all recorded, then it's already one-time investment, and then every time you acquire a customer, straight away the gross margin hits the jackpot because you are not paying the professors for every hour they are teaching online. It's a recorded course. So in case of ad tech, the gross margins are very, very high. So they can resort to paid ads. But in case your gross margins is not high, then obviously you can't get into paid ads. You have to look at virality, stickiness, organic marketing, which I'll slightly cover in case it is not a very high retention. Okay. Now, having said that, you are now having a minimum viable, you have a demand, and you have a contributing profit. And now you are looking at funding options. Why you need funds? Because you have to scale. So these are the various things you already know. Let's start at something called an angel. The slide's caption is investor perspective. In case the slide has not changed, please correct me. Now, I'll give you a very good, simple investor perspective. Let's look at an angel. You have. I'm sure that you guys have met Delhi Angels, Mumbai Angels. Now, this is a group where people can actually start with an angel investment of as low as 5 lakhs and go to typical they will invest 20 lakhs. Now, what kind of angels are that? These angels are basically high net worth individuals. They are basically working as CIOs and CXOs in Hyderabad, Bangalore, Gurgaon. Maybe they are touching a salary of 1 crore, and they are looking at various options of investment to get returns. They look at real estate. It's not liquid. It's going down. Ups and downs are very frequent. They look at stock market, very volatile. Sometimes it goes up, but now it's more or less flat. And maybe the recession is there, so maybe it will not even have 60,000 for next 1 year or so. Well, that's the assumption. Then they look at crypto, that is also going up and down. Then they look at basically the startup, where the concept is highest risks and highest returns. He's a investor is a salaried guy, and he says, okay, I can invest 1 crore of surplus capital I have got. So typically they will look at 10 investments, and again the 80-20 rule applies. The reverse principle. Every investor knows that 80% of my investments will fail, and only two will survive. One will give me reasonable return, and one will give me very good return, which will go into a growth stage, Series A kind of funding. Now 80% is return of 80 lakhs is return of only two investment 10 lakhs each. One will give him 50 lakhs, the other will give him 1 crore. at 10x returns. Overall returns, he says, I have a horizon of 2 years. 1.5 crores he gets is okay. He says, it's not bad. It has performed better than the stock market. This is exactly goes on in the mind of an angel. And you don't have to be worried about it because he knows that he all things going well. If the business is doing well, everything is going well. He will get 80% chance. What fail is that basically you have a minimum viable product. You are not able to make a real product which you wanted within a stipulated time, and your run rate has evaporated. I mean, your expense is high and your investment is dried up. Your run rate is let's say 3 lakhs per month. You actually took an angel investment of 30 lakhs. After 10 months, your your bank is dry. You still have to run a 3 lakhs, but your revenue is yet not started. We are talking about pre-revenue. Now, in that case, you go to a second angel or small VC, and you are not getting any amount from them. So obviously, you have to close the startup industry. Other example could be that at that stage you got into little bit of revenue. Little bit of revenue is coming. It's not actually reached the stage where it can actually offset your expense, but some revenue is coming. So you need another 1 year run rate to add some more features to get more customers, do more marketing campaigns, but you are not getting any investments. People are not actually convinced about your retention, demand, and leaking bucket kind of concepts. So you have to close down the venture. So the angel knows that 80% will close down, two will succeed, one will marginally succeed, other will succeed very reasonably, and I will get my overall. So that's why they spread it out over 10 investments. Now, when you actually have got a product, you got the angel investment, there are three things which are there in any product. One is basically, we call it the stickiness. The other is the virality, which you keep hearing all the time. And of course, the third is basically, it's a very simple thing which is called a paid. Though I see these days mostly it is paid only. Uh, Let us go slightly one point at a time. What exactly is stickiness? Now, stickiness is then a concept which actually it becomes your habit. It will become your habit. The act will become your habit. It sticks on to you. So you have downloaded an app, Uber or a Ola. So it is your habit. Every time you are talking about ride share, you actually start doing that. You downloaded Amazon. Every time you want to buy something, it actually you go to Amazon. It is your habit. It doesn't ensure that it gives you a steady cash flow. It is not a subscription model. There is not a regular recurring income, which is the most important thing is regular recurring income, but it is sticky. So that there are certain ideas which are sticky. It becomes you force a customer that idea becomes his habit. The second is virality. Virality is what everybody desires to do. That is what everybody dreams of. Virality is basically, I am telling you to download that, and you tell three more people, and those three people tell 30 more. 30 people take 300 more. And that becomes a viral. Now, virality is like when WhatsApp started, it became viral. One guy downloaded, he told 10 of his friends, before to chat with me, you have to actually get rid of that messenger app or a BlackBerry messenger, which was far more powerful at that time, and let's go on WhatsApp. And then it became viral because you are basically the app guy is not paying anything for the spread of the app. People download it automatically because they are getting that referrals from others. It is becoming much more than stickiness. Third is, of course, the paid app. Paid is basically you are knowing that your app has got a lot of features, good features, and the gross margins are quite high. The demand is high. So I need a little bit of support to get it across to the client. So So you get into Google ads or you get into Facebook ads or Instagram ads, which is now becoming more popular, and you discuss what is the per app download you want to spend or per click that you want to spend. You start basically bidding for the keywords, and then you have to ensure that once your customer comes, the cost of acquisition should not be that high that your contributing profit goes for a loss. You can't have a case where you are paying 1 cent per click, and even after thousands of 1 cent per click, and thousand people click, and nobody even downloads that app or buys anything. And if one guy buys, then the contribution is just $1. So it's not going to work out on the paid. It has to be have a concept where the margins are very very high, and then the paid part works out well. Paid part also works out well for very new startups who want to actually approach the angel or a VC and show that, look, I have got already so many downloads and so many people are using my app. I'm continuously giving the example of app. It could be anything else, and that's how they actually get those guys. They get into the paid part, and they actually disguise that paid as some sort of virality. Now, of course, the VCs are also getting very sharp. They are much more sharper. Remember, they actually pick up the brightest talent from the key IIMs and all, IITs and IIMs. So they know the difference between a virality and paid. There is nothing wrong in the paid part, but the margin has to be very, very good. So this again, this slide shows you about stickiness versus virality. Stickiness is something which is a habit. At one time, Paytm was a habit. Of course, now we have GPay and PhonePe and a lot of UPI-based apps. But whatever is the app, it becomes your habit. Virality is that organically you start downloading, and through a hearsay campaign, and one guy gets 10 more, 10 guys gets 100 more, like that. Your cost of acquisition is actually zero in virality. And that is the best way to do it. Maybe if the thing is getting viral, you may not even need the investment. Stickiness, slightly getting this thing that it is, we have already covered it, it is mostly becoming your habit. Now, you have to look at go back to the ideation stage and ask yourself, would you like to create something which makes it sticky to your customer or make it his habit, or something where it becomes viral? Stickiness should not be confused with virality. Stickiness is different and virality is different. I'll come with a small example of that later on. Similarly, the next part after stickiness comes the scalability, because that's exactly what the VC is going to look at all the time. He's only asking you one thing: can it be scalable? Can it be scalable? Now, there are VC who get into a real due diligence. Due diligence is a concept where actually they will actually go threadbare into your business plan, your technology plans. Business plans is easy because you can, of course, everybody makes a hockey stick business plans because you are projecting next 10 years, but they can always cross-check, validate with other industry players. Technology due diligence can be very difficult because they can actually get into your platform details, whether you have the patent rights, tomorrow there should not be any problems with that, whether you are using the right database which can be scaled or not, whether your UI UX is right, which is creating the right appeal to the users installed. Scalability means that I get 100 users, I have the same platform, I scale it to 1,000 users, I use the same platform, theoretical scalability. I get 1 million subscriber, I use the same platform. I get 10 million subscriber, I use the same platform, theoretical. That is called scalability, which means that you don't have to readjust your technology again and again when the customers increase. Something which is called economies of volume in factories, not economies of scale. It should not be economies of scale, but economies of volume. Now, scalability is purely technological, and that is what startup is all about. If you see, all startups, why do they use technology as a platform? Because they say, because I'm using technology as a platform, it can be scalable. That means when I get incremental users tomorrow, my fixed cost on the platform will be stable. It will not increase with very add-on user. Now, that is what the VC will say, that look, I'm investing in you because today you've only 100 customers, But you are going to, because the demand is high, you scale up to 1 million subscribers, then our profits will come. And then when the profits will come, the investments will not be that high compared to your scalability sales. Scalability is something that you have to see from two aspects. One is basically the demand of the product, which is there, the market survey that you have done, the customers that you have spoken to is very, very important. The second is basically the technology team that you have done. Whether if there are your students like from the college itself, they may not have the necessary experience of putting up a scalable platform. So when you get into the product stage from minimum viable product, you have got little bit of investment. Better to get experienced technology guys who worked on databases for 5 or more years, and they can actually create people who actually there are people who specialize in creating scalable platforms. They are the CTOs. Then ultimately, everybody puts money for future profits. Profits can be after 10 years or 20 years. It is basically a very simple thing that whatever you are making has to be profitable. That's why you made it. Though at times people lose sight on profit and the cost of valuation. Valuation and profits are two different things. They should not be confused. Most of the startups, they only talk about valuation because there's a very high chance that a startup investor, a founder like you, can exit before even your company is getting into profitability because it's like I get investment for I create the startup, I get a angel investment of 10 lakhs at 10% equity dilution. So I say that my investor, my valuation is 1 crore. Now, after I have got a minimum viable product, I'll get a venture capitalist who will invest 1 crore for 10%. So 10 crore valuation, the angel investor exits out. Now, Series B funding can be 20 crores. At this stage, you can even walk out with your 5 crores worth of investment or maybe more than 5 crores worth of investment. But the startup investor will not be able to do that because maybe more because your equity would have diluted. Company is still in losses. The reason behind that is having got $17 billion and after 10 years of buying, they yet not hit the revenue market. This year they've hit the revenue market. So why is it that VCs keep on pumping money? Series A gets out, Series B comes in, Series C comes in, Series B go out. Today we are looking at Series H. So everybody has made money, but the company has not made any money. Company is still into losses. Customers are very happy because they are getting the goods and services at discounted offers. You sitting at home, you can get Swiggy and Zomato deliver even 50 rupees in this country, 40 crores. So let's say that tomorrow they say, here you just give me 1 rupee per month for using my services. Obviously, you will say yes because you can't live without WhatsApp. It has become your habit. It has become sticky. You can't do with it. So, and you can say 1 rupee. They start making a revenue of 40 crores per month. Now they say, okay, no. Next month, I'm increasing it to 10 rupees per month. You still say, okay, 40 crores they make in 1 month. Then they say 100 rupees. There will be some people who will drop out, but majority will still hang around at 400 rupees, 400 crores per month. Steady revenue. Why are they doing all these things? Or they will do these things? Because now there is nobody else. They're the only messenger app in this country. So it took them around 15 years to reach that after their initial investment of buying that company. This is what is the idea on which startups work. It is not that you have to make profit, but you have to actually show the path of profit to your investors. I mean, you can't say, I will only play the valuation game. You have to show them how will you become profit, what is the profitability after 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. And if they're convinced, they will keep investing. To dwell upon one of the most important things which I find in startups which I have done some, is the few accelerators, and that is the concept of product management. Now, you would know what is the product management. This is a very important concept and very matured in US. Unfortunately, it is not so matured in the Indian context. Everybody is a product manager. Now, what is a product manager? I create my website. I say इसको यहाँ पे चेयरमैन का फोटो डाल दो, वहाँ पे VC का डाल दो, यहाँ पे गैलरी डाल दो, यहाँ पे ये येलो डाल दो, वहाँ पे ब्लू कलर डाल दो, like that. You talk about the UI UX, which is the color and visual appeal. And then you say, okay, I want this feature. When you click this should happen. Click to action features you start coming out with. You come out on website, you come out on platforms, SaaS platforms, you come out with the apps. So it's very common in SaaS platforms about the UI UX and basically the actionable features. That's the role of a product manager. That is obviously the most important thing. But what exactly is a product manager? There are three things that a product manager has to take care of. And these are the three crucial things: technology, design, and business. Is the slide visible? This cartoon slide. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, if you look at this, a product manager has to take care of technology, design, and business. Who is a product manager? A product manager typically is a guy from IITI. Why do they take IITI? Because he's a good combination of technology and business. Technology, he need not be a coder, but he has to understand the technology. What should be the features of a minimum viable product? What is the product backlog? Like, what are the previous features, the features which are in the pipeline, which he has to build fast? Sprint is basically break up some activities into very fast actionable outcomes, which are immediately required in the market. So you say, okay, this feature I am actually stepping out, and this has to be done immediately. Then you do a little bit of pivoting all the time, experiments with new features, drop some features, and then of course you keep getting it tested for bugs. So you may be a coder, you may not be a coder. You need not be a coder also. The design part is quite important because that is what the customer looks at all the time. If you see all the founders, they are very intricately aligned with the design people. They sit very closely with the design teams. The founders are always talking to the UI UX guys, and they keep on giving suggestion, keep changing, change the color, change these features, do this, because they, number one, they talk to the customers. The founders are coming from the ground. You remember initially the idea came from the ground. They talk to the customers. They take their feedback seriously. That's why they're a founder. They actually, the design guy actually is a guy who looks at the UI UX part. One could be a color part. The other is something called the interactive design. I'll tell you what exactly is the visual design and interactive design. You play around with colors, it becomes visual design. What is the interactive design? Let's say you have an Apple iPhone, and if you put wrong password, what happens? The phone starts toggling. It starts oscillating. That's the interactive interaction design. In fact, it is rumored that it is said that Steve Jobs was the best. He's always into design. In fact, his products were having the best appeal so far. Nobody has able to design the product to that perfection as Apple. And the credit goes to the founder, Steve Jobs. Similarly, when you come to the business, you are looking at, this is the goal of a product manager. You are looking at whether the customers are buying that product, whether the people are subscribing to that software as a service or a platform as a service model, paying a subscription fees of $10, $20 per user per month for the CRM, for the sales CRM, support CRM, whether they're paying that or not, what is the total market, what is the feedback the customer is giving, then what is the actionable analytics, and what is the problem. Analytics, of course, is a very vast subject where you are actually talking about how many people visit your website, how much time they spend in that website, and what is the bounce rate, and what part of the website they actually visit, which is the heat map. That is basically what is the analytics. What actionable analytics is basically, I'll come what exactly is actionable analytics. That is the matrix that you have highlighted. It could be, let's say, gross merchandise product value, GMV. That is your analytics. That you're always looking at the GMV. how much the gross sales which is happening to your platform. Profit is the ultimate analytics that you're looking at. So when you look at a product manager, that is the most crucial role that is there in any startup. That you have to have a guy who has a vision of at least 2 to 3 years. He knows exactly what the product should be in the next 2 to 3 years. It should not be obsolete by the time you come out after 1 year. He should have a background of technology and business. It need not be IIT IIM all the time. I mean, I don't know whether it helps or not, but there are founders who are far better in design, technology, and business without any formal education also. Steve Jobs is one example. Bill Gates, another example. Now, the product manager obviously should have a vision of 2 to 3 years. Combination of engineer and MD is usually preferred because of combination of little of technology and business. They should closely align with the founder because it's the founder's vision that the product is coming out. The founder has ears to the ground. The product manager may not have ears to the ground. The founder actually goes in the marketplace, talks to the customer. Most of the successful founders that do even to this date when they're very, very successful. So the founder actually plays a very crucial role in design. And the design, I just gave you an example. Whether it's an interactive design or it is a visual design, we'll have two types of end users. One is a customer, one is a user. Let's say Baiju. Look at Baiju. Who is a customer? The parent is the customer. Who is the end user? The student is the user. So when you're looking at a product manager role, you have to look at both the parent as well as the student. When it designs the user interface framework, you may not have a user who is same as the as the person who is buying. It may not be that. In ad tech, it may not be that case. And there are some other industries where again the customer is different and the user is different. Design, I've already covered. You can have a visual design, which everybody takes, UI, UX, A/B testing, and interactive design. Interactive design is actually an inborn skill. Uh, Having talked to many people, you actually will find very surprising things in the product manager role. It is not that a product manager is a guy who's a IIT and a product manager. You have to look at what is his background. A product manager, a very good product manager is a guy who has a habit of doing things right from his childhood. You see a lot of kids who are making things, breaking things. They're very quick in doing carpentry or putting up a little bit of aeroplane bana dete hain. They keep on breaking things at house and making things at house. And they may not be very studious types. They are the guys who will become very good product manager. So there are startups who actually look at these traits. They will not actually go and spend too much money buying the top end qualified guys because they know that the guy who is the eye for detail, who is the guy who can break and make things in a very creative manner, is the guy who is going to be a great product manager. My point is that the product management is very, very crucial. It happens that many a times I have seen that the founder actually is the product manager. Usually, he may not be the best guy for the job. He really is not the best guy. He has many other roles. I will put up a startup canvas slide where I will show you there are many hats which a founder will have. So if he is a good product manager, it is a design, it's a bonus. But if he is not, he should identify early and get a product manager who's got a guy who is good in making and breaking things. Technology, of course, if you are a coder, it helps. Most of the founders have been coders, whether it's Baiju or Flipkart or Zomato, or you take any technology company, the founder has been the coder. But it is not a rule that the founder has to be a coder. You have to understand most of the things. Need not be a coder. Because otherwise, what is technology? It is basically communications using written rules only. You write a code basically. So, from the technology perspective of a product manager, he has to look at the product backlog, feature list. He should use something like project management tools. We are in software, people use agile methodology. The Scrum and Kanban are very popularly used, where multiple things are done at the same time and assembled at the end of the project so that one is not doing in a critical path method like one thing leads to the other. If one team goes down, then the relay means the entire race is lost because of one baton getting dropped in between. But that doesn't happen in the agile methodology. Earlier, the waterfall methodology was there, which was a serial methodology. Now people are using Scrum and Kanban. So, product manager has to have all this knowledge because he has to deliver the product in time. Otherwise, the market will move ahead. From the business perspective, again, I'm talking from the product management, design, technology, and business. The third hat is business. Market feedback. The sales is continuously giving a feedback. ये feature नहीं चाहिए. And this feature is required. So you have to get the feedback, listen to the customers. You always have to listen to the customers and don't go by what you feel. Then you design what is the actionable analytics, which is actually done at the founder level. And each of the company works on a one or two metrics only. For example, if my actionable analytics is gross merchandise value, I am a platform company, let's say Flipkart. Gross merchandise value is basically the total cost, the total gross sales. Now, out of that gross sales, I am only making 15%, but I am showing 1,000 crores in gross sales, but I am only making 15% of the 1,000. So my actual revenue should be 15%. It should be 1,000 crores. So that is basically the seller's revenue. So there's always a double counting in gross margin. The reseller sales is again counted by me. So there's always a big beat of debate whether people should be measured on gross merchandise value or actually on the profitability or EBITDA. Uh, some people actually famously said that gross merchandise value is nothing but a vanity matrix. It gives you a very false perspective, like you are discounting a product. I have a seller who sells for one mobile phone for 20,000 rupees, and I have to pay him 20,000 rupees. So obviously, I should price it at around 24,000, 23,000 on my platform, but I price it at 18,000 to get more customers, discounts it. But the seller walks away with 20,000. So I am paying 2,000 of my, but my revenue is going on increasing. 18,000 into 1,000 sales I did. So the gross market merchandise value is very high, but the other thing that we discussed about the contribution profit, the sales should be more than the variable cost, is not happening. It's a vanity matrix, but people use it at times to get to the next level of investment. So you can have many metrics. It depends on what company you are running, but you have to have one matrix where everybody is following that matrix. Sales people should talk about GMV. Marketing people should talk about GMV. Support, finance, all should be measured on whatever you are doing, how it is helping out my GMV. So instead of GMV, you can have monthly active users like Amazon. They have to be monthly active users, or you can have paid users as a matrix, or you can have weekly active users. And overall, all this matrix should make only one. All these things you are doing to make the company profitable. If it is not profitable, then you may hit the IPO. But after you hit the IPO, things take a different turn, as you can see in the case of Paytm and Zomato. They were all unicorns with basically $1 billion valuations. But the moment they hit the IPO, people start measuring the analysts. They start measuring them on the profits. And they know that the profits will not happen for another year, 2 years, 5 years. Then the stock market goes for a dip. But IPO is the last stage anyway. Now again, I have changed the slide, and it is basically talk about startup canvas. So I feel that whenever you create a startup, you should actually have a long-term horizon, 5 years at least, if not more. And you should focus on the focus areas, the stages, and the goals. You see, there are three quadrants or axes. We have focus areas, we have goals, and we have stages. So we have something which is called a product. Focus area is product. I'm just starting my startup. And I'm actually, the stage is I'm search. I'm actually finding what is the problem solution fit. What exactly is the addressable problem that I'm addressing? And what is my product for that? Now, when going horizontally, I actually have found out the problem. Now I am going to the build stage from search stage. So I'm looking at the product market fit, which we have covered in the previous slides. That the product should be appropriate for the market. People should have a demand and they should pay for that. Now that thing is covered, I've gone into the VC stage. I'm looking at high scale and the product and high growth. And ultimately, my goal is to build a portfolio of products. Now, coming down on the horizontal, we have people. Just a startup founder, I could be a co-founder. There are platforms where you can find co-founders today. So, finding founders, co-founders today. So, finding founders, co-founders is a issue at the people search stage. People build stage, you create a core team because now you are making a product. People scale stage, you are building a company now. You have a HR team, you have a finance team, you have a customer support team, you have a legal team. Now it's you're building a corporation. And then the goal is to get a great culture out of it. Lastly, the investment stage. At the third stage, you are bootstrapping your own money, your dad's money, uncle's money, beg borrower scheme concept, bootstrapping. When you move from the search to the build stage, you have found an angel investor. He gives you a run rate of 1 year. Build the product in this 1 year. And then you move last scale, which is the venture capitalist. You have actually built a product, you have the people, now you want to scale. And ultimately you are hitting the IP. See, all investors ultimately eye the IP because that's when people will have windfall profit. Not all startups end up in IPO. Very, very less number of startups enter into an IPO. Majority of them do not. They prefer being in a startup stage. But the problem in that is that at one particular point of time, when your valuation is very, very high, there are not enough funds available. Now, the start kind of valuation that Flipkart has entered, except maybe SoftBank or a couple of others, there are not many who can afford to buy that small equity at that high cost. So, you run out of fund houses at all it is required. People will come to you friends or family because that's what they are used to. The habit app is what becomes more popular than these one-time apps. So having said that, now the question comes is if all this is fine, what is pivoting and when do you pivot? Well, this is a very regular question that is continuously being asked about pivoting. Pivoting is simply basically you go back to the drawing board and redo your product feature roadmap again, reassess what features you should add, and what features you should not add, and what you should drop. Mostly not drop, mostly add. And whether you should actually change the direction of the company or whether you should actually If the people cannot understand or use, then obviously there will be no takers for that. Now, having said that, let me come to a little bit about how much time it takes to get the angel funding. Typically, if all goes well, 3 to 4 months. Angel funding is not a very difficult stage because who is an angel? Everybody is an angel. Your dad is an angel. Anybody who is on a high salary is an angel. Anybody who can do with 5 lakhs to 20 lakhs is an angel. So obviously, you have to hit the right people. Lalaji can be an angel. You have to meet those people, give them a pitch, and actually show them a proof of concept, maybe sometimes a minimum viable product. And then you have to tell them that you need so much money to last 1 year to actually hit the right product. The angel is funding you because he himself is looking as an exit from the Series A fund. So they may look at, and again, they are looking at the 80-20 rule. We discussed that 80% it is going to fail. And 3 to 4 months, they will give you little bit only. You have a run rate of 2 lakhs, 2.5 lakhs. You need 30 lakhs to ride over 1 year without hitting any revenue. So that's the kind of funding you need to come out with a product. Now, when you come to institutional investors, like we're talking about the serious VCs here, it's going to get much more longer because you already crossed the angel stage. Your product is getting ready. You are already hitting the pre-revenue stage at this stage, not the actual revenue, but the pre-revenue stage. Now, at this stage, the investors will look at a lot of things like your demand, your leaking bucket, your contributing profit. Mostly, they will look at the contribution margin, contribution profit. The sale should be more than the variable cost. They are not too much worried about your other costs. Like you may have a CTO who may demand 3 lakhs a month. They may not be worried about that because that's a temporary thing. Sooner or later, he'll get replaced by somebody else. Or they may not even worry too much about some other overhead that you're looking at a fancy office and all those things. But the variable cost is of more important use to them. And it may take slightly more, even more than 20 weeks because it requires multiple layers. You have to go to a term sheet, first the analyst, then you go to the senior management, and multiple presentation, and you have to give the pitch deck. But remember, the three things that they always look for is what we decided. So, having done that, what is a valuation for a startup? Although we are all in the valuation game, we are not in the profit game. Frankly speaking, many of the startups owners that I have met, they themselves believe that they will not be there till the time it turns into profit. Everybody is playing the valuation game because everybody is trying to exit at the valuation model. Nobody is like, losing money on the valuation model. So there are certain positive factors and certain negative factors when you play the valuation game. From the VC point of view, the thing that they will look at when you actually they invest in you is traction, reputation, prototype, and revenue. Among from a lot of other things, these are the major 4 things that I feel that they will see. Traction is the most important. You have to have a product which has few takers who have bought. You can't have a product which has no takers and it's a jazzy product which you feel great about. If you have a paying customer and you have multiple, maybe you have 10 paying customers, 20 paying customers, that's a traction. That gives actually a trajectory to your startup. That yes, given some more features, given some more push in the market, there will be many more customers because some early customers have already bought this product. The reputation of yourself is the most important thing. Of course, you are student, so your DTU, DC background is going to be very, very important. Incidentally, my son is also a DTU product. And reputation is very important. And a lot of these VCs, they are basically from IITs, IIMs, and Delhi College of Engineering and BITS Pilani. So that should help. And there, the networking effect is very, very important because all things being equal, IIT, IIM guy who is evaluating your product as a VC will give due note that you are also an ex-IIT or ex-IIM. Similarly, if a guy is from DC in a venture capitalist, try to reach out the background check. If there are some DTU guys in VCs, then your chances of success is far higher. Everybody helps their own alumni, and it's not 100% fair market, and there's always a bias which is there from the VC point of view. They're humans at the end of the day. So your reputation, in the case of you are a serial entrepreneur, your previous venture reputation, even if it is a failed venture, if you know that what was the reason it failed, and in the new venture you have taken care of those issues, you are a far better guy than a guy who has had no failed venture reputation. So failure is not a bad thing at all in the VC market. Rather, they think that you are far more learned than the guys who are not failed. Prototype, of course, is very important on the technical due diligence, that you have something which is not a theoretical idea, but something which can be demonstrated. And revenues, that yes, revenue and traction is slightly different, because revenues is basically you are saying that today the guy is paying $1, but actually he'll pay $10. And I'll have 1 million guys will end up paying revenue. So you create a revenue plan around that. Now, I'll just try to tell you one more thing, that what the VCs see in a startup is basically a team. They should actually see typically 3 or 4 people, not one person. One person will never get funded. It is out of question. You may be the brilliant guy, but you have to have a team of 3. Because one person will not have all the necessary knowledge to run a startup in a very turbulent, choppy workplace. Okay. You need to have a team. And one should be at least a technology CTO guy, definitely. That's the more important thing, because everything is a platform. The second thing is age. You will find it surprisingly why age is important. Apart from your academic credentials. Academic is important because if you've gone into a prestigious college like DTU, you must have very high IQ. That's why I've got into that. I mean, that's how the supposition is all about. That must be a bright guy. Now, what they look at in the age is somebody who can be, for the lack of proper word, manipulated. Example, you come out with a prototype and or a minimum viable product, and you are seeing some early traction. And as a VC, I start telling you that now build these features and change everything. And then it will see more traction. Now at a particular age, you are open to suggestions and change. Then you will change. Which means you can be manipulated as per the VC's wish. But at a particular age, let's say you are 35, 40, 45 years, you will not change that easily. If the VC tells you to do whatever, you will stick to your goals. I mean, it's difficult to change that rapidly. So that's why when you see that, you keep hearing that age is an important factor. Age is not something which is feel good or feel bad. There's nothing wrong with age. Very simple background is that they feel that you can change at a young age. Otherwise, difficult to change you, because they have also invested a lot in you, and they have to ensure that this is not a failed venture. And so some changes they will also ask you to do. Apart from that, when you approach a VC, they will see whether the industry's hotness is within the demand. The industry has good demand of this product. They can always find the demand. They have also access to Gartner and all those reports. They also have other ventures where they have invested. They also have other companies, the competition whom they will evaluate how they are doing. And pre-evaluation revenues means that if you have still not hit the funding and you have already got into the revenue, that is a very positive sign that you have. That if you got paying customers even before the funding, that means people have validated your product. Reputation of yourself and your team at your stage, it is basically your background of the college where you're coming from, because you are all still in the university. Early stage traction, how willingly people are buying your product and how much they are paying. And if you have any distribution channel, basically the sales model. Negative factors, you are an industry which is showing very poor demand. The overall product has very low margin. Too much competition in the market. Uh, you are a founder, but your team is not up to the mark. I mean, you've just assembled a team for the sake of assembling a team. The commitment is not there. There is no skin in the game. Even they continuously refer to this thing called skin in the game. Skin in the game is how much you yourself have invested in the startup. That means yourself are committed to this startup. That's why you put your own money into this. There is skin. In case there is no scale in the game, you can also scale that the time that you have invested. You are a topper. You have a market job opportunity of 10 lakhs, 12 lakhs, 14 lakhs to start after DC. But you are putting those 2 years, the very first slide that I showed, by not taking home a salary. You are foregoing those 30 lakhs in 2 years. That's skin in the game. And of course, the product due diligence, whether it has enough features or it is just a Me Too product. Sometimes and mostly they see the desperation. The desperation is that this guy is running out of money. His burn rate is very, very high. And he'll run out of his money in a couple of months. And that's why he is saying yes to everything. And he's desperate to get this cash out of us. So they will see all these things, and these are the negative factors. They are also humans. They also have a set of rules through which they do a checklist. Now, this is actually what 10% of seed. What does it mean? You dilute 10% at idea stage or proof stage, POC stage, and somebody invests 10 lakhs in it for 10%, which means that your valuation is overnight become 1 crore. But that doesn't mean, or 10 crores if he has got 1 crore for 10% stake, but that doesn't mean that you will go out and start selling. Nobody will buy at that stage. The company, if you want to sell out. See, this is the most important thing where people get confused. You remember that till the series A, B, C, D, E, and G, promoters never quit. The next investor will invest in you only when they see the same promoters. Nobody likes promoters getting exit. So the promoter typically is the guy who is the last one to be exit, to make an exit. Flipkart promoters left only when Walmart bought them out totally. Walmart had their own series of process. They were into the similar business, and they did not want these promoters. And that's what they think. Okay, we'll have our own professional CEO or management. Now, otherwise, when you have Series A passing the baton to B, to C, to D, to E, and previous year when venture capital is exiting out, nobody will like a promoter to exit. You may dilute your equity will obviously be diluted because more guys are getting into it. So you start with 100%, you may end up with less than 10% after 5 or 6 rounds of funding. But that less than 10% is maybe worth 50 crores at that point of time. So valuation is important, but it's not that you can run away home happily that I've made money. You will be able to dilute a part of it, not whole, because little bit of dilution they may also allow from time to time. You may end up getting a very high salary. You may get bonuses, you may get incentives, but you will not be able to dilute. So it's just a valuation is just a paperwork. It's just a paper product for you. Lastly, I'm just coming to last. These are my last winding up slides. There are various ways in which valuation happens. It's important for you to know the ways in which valuation happens. B2B valuations are done at a much higher rate than B2C. Let us take a very small example of SaaS, software as a service. All CRM, sales tools, all these are basically SaaS products. SaaS is now the hot market today because you don't buy expensive software, but you are subscribing to a software. $10, $1, $2 per user per month. Every product today becomes SaaS. From the startup point of view, you are basically talking about cloud, no capex, only OpEx, tremendous scale because the subscribers are increasing, but the cloud costs are not increasing to that level. It is not linearly increasing. So, so if I have a B2B model, then I have, let's say, 20 customers or 30 customers, and I will say ki my per customer is, let's say, $1,000 B2B. And if I've got 100 customers, so I'll say 1,000 into 100 is my valuation. Or I will say ki this is my sales turnover. So 10 times sales or 3 times the profit. I mean, there is no thumb rule, but sometimes people will say 10 times the same value, 3 times the, 10 times the same value, 30 times the profit value. I will just say the opposite. 30 times the profit value. Or they will say per subscriber into X dollars, because this is a SaaS model and you have a subscription model. So a customer is going on paying till this the end of the lifetime value. What is the LTV, lifetime value of the customer? So they will put the valuation on number of subscribers, revenue, and profit. They may also do a discounted cash flow where they actually project all the future sales that you are projecting in your business plan and do a net present value on bringing that cash flow to today, factoring into inflation, competition, everything. And they see, okay, this is your present value is $20 million. And so this is your valuation. So there are no one way of doing valuation. It's a discounted cash flow. Then there is a venture capital method where they themselves are looking at exit. Who is a VC? VC actually has gone through a lot of HNI individuals and created a fund. A VC firm approaches 100 people and say, "Ki, you invest 1 crore, that's 100 crores, and tells those guys, I will give you 5x returns after 5 years. I will invest in SaaS B2B model or B2C model." Then they pick up 10 companies where they invest and they make their money and return the money to the investors, which is that HNIs from who they took the money after 5 years. Each of the VC fund has a shelf life. It varies from 5 years to 10 years. It is not perpetuity. So the VC has to exit in that end of the fund period. So they will say, okay, if I invest in 10 crores in you, my investment, I have to exit at 50 crores. So from that 50 crores, they will look at their equity and then they will do the valuation. Then, of course, there's a market comparison where they actually look at the competing people in the market, and based on that, they will do the what is the right valuation. Because if it is somebody has to put money in Amazon today, they will look at Flipkart and then do the valuation. Similarly, if it is something optical ad tech company, there are many other ad tech companies which have raised money, so they will use that method. Then there are some decision tree analysis where they make a decision tree, if this, then this, various decisions, and then ultimately they come to a decision. So I think we are also running out of time, and I thought I will try to cover as much as possible in short time. And sorry for those slight glitches, because this is the first time I'm also using this Google Wala platform. And any questions? In fact, I have been speaking non-stop like a boring lecture. Now I actually was not looking at the screen. Now I've seen that somebody has raised a hand. So please, I'm happy to take the questions for next 15 minutes or whatever time I have.
Thank you so much, sir, for this enriching session, despite having network glitches in between. It was great to hear from you on such a great topic. Thank you very much. Now we will proceed to our Q&A round. I request Tanya and Shanu to take the session ahead.
I'll just need to stop sharing.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Tanya Kalra.
Yeah, Tanya.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Shanu Bhardwaj.
So now we'll be proceeding ahead with some of the questions that we had in our mind. So, sir, you talked about unicorns. What percentage of unicorns?
Just a moment, please. Tanya, just a moment, please.
Yes. Yes,
First of all, I would like to thank Professor Mohanty for a very great and nice talk. And I'm really means like I was not very regular in your talk, but some of your thought was quite great. Anyway, so now the question I ask is, you guys can start, okay? And if coordinator can allow, can I leave? Okay.
Thank you, sir. It was great having you with us.
Yeah.
Look forward to meeting you in future.
Yes, yes, sure. We will have definitely great collaborations ahead. Okay. Thanks a lot.
Definitely.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining.
thank you, sir. So, sir, going ahead with the first question, you talked about unicorns. So, what percentage of unicorns are profitable, and what, in your opinion, has made India a unicorn landscape?
Very rarely that unicorns are profitable. To the best of my knowledge, unicorns are not yet profitable. And the reason for that is this typically a typical time for a unicorn to show profit is not slow, it is 10 to 15 years. And there's a concept called a winner takes it all. A winner takes it all is that I have to do discounted sales, I have to get customers. And my only metrics is to get customers. Why I need to get customers? I have to kill the competition. At the end of 10 years, only I will be standing, and everything, we all rest will be dead. When that happens, then I will start doing the pricing model. Look at the WhatsApp model. 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago, they bought for $17 billion. There was a lot of temptation. Everybody said that why would you price it $1, 1 rupee per user, but they did not do any pricing. So, unicorns will have a long horizon of 10 to 15 years. They are not profitable. They are not supposed to be profitable. It's just a valuation game. At the end of the day, they will make profit when rest of the people will not be there in the market. It's a winner takes it all strategy.
Yes, sir. Sure, sir. Going ahead with next question.
Oh, thank you so much, sir. So the next question is, what are the critical turning points where an entrepreneur can go wrong?
Many. There are many. In fact, first is basically the entrepreneur loses sight of the customer, and he doesn't go to the ground and talk to the customer. And he totally relies on the product managers who keep doing this air conditioned presentations about various features which they think that should be there, which they think that competitor has that should be added to that, but they don't take the feedback from the customer. So the entrepreneur actually loses sight of the customer, and that is the end of the day for the roadmap that he has built up. Secondly, of course, there are many entrepreneurs, they don't put up the right team. They have the idea, but remember, it's one fundamental thing that you may be the brightest guy, but most of the entrepreneurs think that they can do everything. They can wear all the hats. I can be the sales guy, marketing guy, product manager, coder, technology guy, everything. But that is never the case. That's why the VCs don't funding. You have to have a team. There are people who have to complement your strengths and weaknesses. So entrepreneurs actually make mistake in hiring the right time or having the right co-founders. Group of friends from a college make a startup because you are friends, you like each other. But that doesn't mean that you have the necessary strengths which complement each other's strengths and weaknesses. Did you ever check up with your friends who started the startup? Whether I am good in marketing, the other guy is good in technology, the third guy is good in finance, the fourth guy is very good in product management, somebody else is very good in only investor chasing and relations. So I never do that. All of us were coders. Most of the team that you find, everybody is a coder. So that is not complementing each other's strengths and weakness. And very soon they will step into each other's shoes, and the partnership breaks, and they will separate out. So choosing the right team and not listening to the customer, these I think are the two major important things.
Sure, sir. It takes a great team and great efforts to convert a small idea into a big startup. Well, coming to the next question, sir, it would be which factor amongst stickiness or virality would actually play a major role in growth of a startup to make it sustainable?
I will like to rephrase it this way, that I would like to have a model where I have a regular paying customers on a periodic basis, monthly basis. It could be viral, it could be stickiness, like the great OTT model, the Netflix model. where every month you have to pay. So I don't have to look for a new buyer every month. So I can have a sticky model where the people actually are sticky to my product or app, but they're not paying regularly. They are basically, it's a habit like Ola and Uber. If I am using a Ola app and I use once in 10 months, what use am I to the Ola? They are counting me as an active user, but I'm hardly an active user. Similarly, virality is always good because I'm not buying those customers. The cost of acquisition is very, very low. The right combination is basically a viral app which actually becomes sticky. And the thing that comes to my mind is WhatsApp. A viral thing which becomes sticky, which has to have a recurring model where every month people regularly pay you. That is the winning combination.
Sure, sir. Coming to the next question.
So the next question is there any government scheme for budding biotechnology startups?
Well, actually, there's a startup endeavor by Government of India, and you have to register it there, fill up certain documents and all. It is not very difficult. You will get a 7 year horizon to be part of that member of that consortium. You get a lot of benefits. Like, for example, if you are bidding in certain projects of Government of India, you don't have to actually pay them EMD or tender fee. Then from time to time, they will put up various exhibitions in various part of the country. They will give you a free stall, and at times they will also give you an leverage for buying some of the products through James portal, where it is exclusively said that these products can only be sold by startups. But having said that, please remember that why are you in a startup? You are in a startup because you are believing in yourself as a free market entrepreneur, where you are actually competing with the best of the best in the free market. If you are looking at the support of the government and all, then actually your roadmap is not actually that of a startup. We are using startup as a route to get into the government and take their help.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sure, sir. Well, coming to the next question, that sir, in this journey of so many years of trying to start up new startups and businesses, everyone fails, and these failures are the ones that give us those lessons that where we went wrong. But other than that, what else, or is there any person who has actually inspired you or influenced you over your journey of so many years?
Uh, Very difficult to say that answer that question because if you are a let me give you a very simple hypothetical answer to that. If you ever get into a startup mode yourself and you fail, you get back into a job market, but your heart will always be there as a startup. You again turn back to becoming an entrepreneur because you are not meant to work in a 9 to 5 process driven industry. You will again come into the startup and you will learn from yourself look where I went wrong. And you know that where you have gone wrong. So in the second startup, you will not make the same mistakes. Then you come, make possibly it doesn't take off. Then again you start a some similar venture like that. So if you say about who inspires you, I think if you inspire yourself because your heart is that of an entrepreneur. You can't do a 9 to 5 job ever. So you keep learning from your own mistakes and keep returning back to the market with a much more improvised model. See, in this market, what happens is success has many fathers and failures have none. You talk about those 40 unicorns, you talk about their founder CEOs, and they become your inspiration. But I would say that if you are into the angel network and you listen to the pitches of hundreds of people every day, you will find that these are the people who actually are the right heroes for you because they are bootstrap guys. They're using their own funds. And then they've created some very unique products, and for some reason they are not able to scale because all said
It is